In 1890, on the outskirts of Paris, the market gardeners known as the Maraîchers were earning the equivalent of a substantial full-time living. From plots of land smaller than most American backyards. No tractor, no synthetic fertilizer, no power tools. Just a wheelbarrow, a few hand tools, and a method so productive that the researchers who documented it couldn't explain what they were seeing. Yields that shouldn't have been possible. Year-round harvests in a climate that should have made that impossible. Soil that generated its own heat in the dead of winter. Within one generation, this entire system vanished. Not because it failed, but because something cheaper replaced it. Today, we're going to bring it back. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how the Paris market gardeners turned small plots of ordinary land into engines of perpetual income, and how you can replicate that system on a quarter acre, starting this season. We're going to cover the 4 interlocking parts of their method: deep soil preparation, succession planting, season extension, and direct-to-market selling. But before we get to that, you need to understand what was lost, why it was lost, and why nobody in the industrial agriculture industry has any incentive to tell you it ever existed. Because once you understand what a quarter acre is actually capable of, the conversation about food costs and financial independence changes completely. Paris in the 1800s had a problem that modern cities have entirely forgotten. When the city needed fresh vegetables every single day for millions of people, and there were no refrigerated trucks, no cold storage supply chains, no imported produce from distant regions. What the city ate had to be grown close enough to arrive at market the same morning it was harvested. The men and women who solved this problem were called the Maraîchers, the Paris market gardeners. They occupied a ring of land just outside the city walls. Small plots, rarely more than 1 to 3 acres. The land wasn't special. Paris winters are cold, gray, and long. What was special was the system. The Maraîchers had spent generations learning one specific lesson. When land is limited, you don't optimize for convenience. You optimize for output per square foot. Every inch of soil either earned money or it didn't. A bed was never empty. Instead, they treated their growing space the way a merchant treats shelf space. By the 1880s, the best of these growers were harvesting year-round, coaxing 2 or 3 full crop rotations out of a single bed in a single year. Some maintained waiting lists of Parisian households who paid premium prices for a weekly produce basket. Then the 20th century arrived. Tractors arrived. Chemical nitrogen fertilizer arrived. The entire logic of agriculture shifted from output per square foot to output per labor hour. The French intensive method wasn't disproven. It was simply incompatible with the direction industrial agriculture wanted to go. The system had 4 interlocking parts, and you need all 4 working together. First, narrow, never compacted beds. A bed is no wider than you can comfortably reach from either side, typically 30 to 48 inches. Yet you never step into the bed, ever. Every time you compress that soil with your body weight, you undo weeks of biological work. The air pockets collapse. Roots have to fight through it. The beds stay permanently loose and alive because you only ever work from the edges. Second, deep preparation, the double dig. Before planting, the soil is worked to a depth of 24 inches, not 6 inches like a standard tiller. 24. You remove the top 12 inches of soil, loosen the subsoil beneath it, then return the topsoil enriched with compost. The result is not ordinary garden soil, and it's a biological sponge. Water moves through it perfectly. Roots drive down with almost no resistance. You do this once per bed and then maintain rather than repeat. Third, high-density hexagonal planting in a conventional row garden. After the space between plants grows nothing. The French intensive method staggers crops in offset rows, so each plant sits in the gap between the 2 plants ahead of it. When mature, the leaves of neighboring plants just barely touch. This shades the soil, suppresses weeds without chemicals, and retains moisture without irrigation. A bed planted this way holds significantly more plants per square foot than a conventional row garden. Fourth, succession planting, the engine of continuous income. A bed is never empty. The moment one crop comes out, another goes in. Not eventually. That day. As radishes finished, a flat of lettuce seedlings was already 4 weeks old and waiting. As lettuce finished, carrot seed was ready to sow. As carrots came out in fall, a cover crop went in to protect the soil. On a single 100 square foot bed managed this way can produce 5 or 6 distinct crops per year. If a bed with one crop generates $200 in produce value, the same bed with 4 successions generates $800. Only the planning changes. None of this functions without the soil. The Maraîchers had access to something that powered their entire operation, the horse manure of Paris itself. Around 1900, the city had roughly 80,000 horses. Their manure had to go somewhere. The market gardeners paid to receive it, composting it in deep beds between their growing plots, mixing it with straw and organic waste until it became half compost, half heat generator. Fresh horse manure composts hot. Temperatures at the core of a well-built pile can reach well above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The gardeners use that heat deliberately. Glass bell jars called cloches, gas and cold frames made from salvaged window glass were placed over early plantings. Underneath, the decomposing manure warmed the soil. Above, the glass trapped the sun. Inside that microclimate, plants grew in February that had no business growing in February. Early crops meant first-to-market status. First-to-market meant the highest prices of the season, before supply caught up with demand. A gardener who could offer fresh lettuce in March while everyone else waited for May wasn't just selling lettuce. They were selling scarcity. Today, you don't need Parisian stables. You need compost, deep, rich, biologically active compost built from kitchen scraps, yard waste, and any animal manure you can source locally. Run 3 bins in rotation, 1 actively building, 1 maturing, 1 finished. This is your primary competitive advantage. A quarter acre is more than enough. On a quarter acre, you can fit 15 to 25 production beds, each 4 feet wide and 20 to 30 feet long, with 18-inch pathways between them. A single 100 square foot bed, managed with succession planting, can conservatively produce between $300 and $600 in market value produce per year. 20 beds can generate $6,000 to $12,000 annually. The most profitable channel is always direct. Farmers markets, CSA subscriptions, restaurant accounts. Every middleman costs you margin. A CSA model fits this approach particularly well. You sell 20 to 30 families a weekly produce box before the season starts. They pay up front. You grow to order. 20 members at $30 per week across a 22-week season adds up to over $13,000 from a quarter acre. Startup cost, roughly $500 to $800. That covers a good spade, a broad fork, and a hand rake, a soil blocker, a hoary knife, first-year seeds, cold frames from salvaged windows, and row cover fabric for frost protection. Quality tools that will last decades, $150 to $300. No tractors, no tillers. The French intensive method was not replaced because it failed the farmer. No researcher discredited it, no crop failure condemned it. In the 1970s, John Jeavons began rigorously testing and expanding this method through Ecology Action in Palo Alto, California. What he found confirmed what the old records had always suggested. Bio-intensive beds produce significantly more food per square foot than conventional row gardens. The soil improved every year rather than depleting. His book, How to Grow More Vegetables, first published in 1974, brought that knowledge to a broad American audience for the first time. And the system was abandoned because it was incompatible with the direction 20th century agriculture chose to go. Industrial agriculture optimizes for output per acre at continental scale. To do that, you need machines. To use machines, you need wide rows. Those wide rows exist for one reason: the width of a horse and later a tractor. Not for the farmer's benefit, for the machine's convenience. A pound of supermarket lettuce earns the farmer a few cents after costs. A head of fresh same-day harvested lettuce sold directly at a farmer's market can command several times that price. Same crop, same soil, completely different financial reality. The system that replaced the Maraîchers optimized for scale and corporate margin, not for the person doing the growing. Once you understand that, rebuilding this on your own land feels less like a hobby and more like a deliberate financial decision. The Maraîchers built their operations with horse manure, hand tools, and glass jars turned upside down over seedlings in February. The inputs were simple, the biology was understood, the market was direct. The income was real. Everything that replaced it was optimized for someone other than the farmer. The knowledge has always been here. The ground beneath your feet is waiting. Start digging.